Woodinville Whiskey Company has emerged as one of America's top craft producers, but they're coming out with the Founders Series that's whiskey that they didn't make. And we've got a bottle to review, and we also have a beautiful coffee table book that they sent us that we want to talk about. So if you want to hear about both, then stick around. So we've made a commitment to our viewers that when we are reviewing a whiskey, we are going to tell everybody
where it came from,
yeah. What the source was. There are some people who feel concerned that if we are given a media bottle, that we will be obligated to say good things about that whiskey, and they want to discount our opinion. This was a free media bottle.
Yes,
book. And the book was also given to us for free. So the story behind Woodinville, we at one point were going to go visit there. And unfortunately, our trip got canceled because of weather problems and our flights. But we hope to maybe go there later this year.
Yeah.
But Woodinville's backstory is very interesting. Two best friends, neither one of them were in the beverage alcohol business, decided to start a distillery in 2010. When they started the distillery, they decided they needed some help from somebody who had a little bit more experience than them. And so they hired Dave Pickerel, the retired master distiller from Maker's Mark, who helped a lot of the brands that you're familiar with out there. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But they went out, they got the best equipment, they got the best guidance, and they started making some really stellar whiskey. And their kind of philosophy was, it was very much focused on Washington State, where they're from. They ended up partnering with a family farmer that was the third generation farmer, and now the fourth generation is getting involved in that business because of the success of this relationship. And they were growing all of the grains that they needed to make their whiskey. And so historically, Woodinville has been doing it the right way, right? They put in the effort. They have aged their whiskey to a point where it actually tastes good. They weren't just selling product to start generating revenue. And a lot of distilleries get started by buying somebody else's whiskey and bottling it in their bottle and then trying to convert over to their own distillate. And this is the only example that I can think of where they did the opposite. Mm-hmm. They went through the difficult, expensive process of making their own whiskey, but later found some barrels that they liked and created this Founders series. So Founders Find. So what's interesting about this, if you notice, it says that it is whiskey from a Bourbon Mash.
Okay.
And most people don't know that that's a category of whiskey unless you read the Standards of Identity. And this is the only commercial example I can think of a whiskey from a Bourbon Mash. But effectively, it means it would have been bourbon, except for it was aged in barrels that had been used before.
Okay.
And in this particular case, this distiller reconditioned the barrels. So they scrape them out and then they rechar them. And, you know, back in the day, that was a very common process, like back in the 1800s. But since our Standards of Identity were created for bourbon, you can't do that and still call it bourbon. So that's why it's a kind of a unique type situation. So obviously the distillery is Woodinville.
Yep.
The SKU is their 12-year Founders Find. But the age is actually not all 12-year. There's about 4% of it that is 15-year MGP. 96% of this, though, is a whiskey that was distilled in Tennessee. The proof is 107 proof. The SRP for this whiskey is $129.99, and last time I looked, it looked like there might be some versions of this that are available on their website.
Okay.
The size is 750 ml. Now, let's get into smelling and tasting this bad boy.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty yummy.
It has it
smells nice.
A nice nose. To me, there's a very prominent chocolate note on the nose. I feel like for sure.
Yeah.
Our chocolate's a little Tootsie Roll-y.
Yeah,
It's not as Tootsie Roll-y but there's definitely a little bit of a bitter dark chocolate in there.
But I get sweetness that tastes like honey.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's like, but it's not syrupy sweet, but it takes the kick off of the chocolate, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Honey for sure.
I got you pick on your hand.
Oh, that's okay. It'll be all right.
So yeah, like I don't get a lot of like fruity, although like I was feeling like some blue something. But
blue?
yeah.
Well, let's check where this whiskey is from.
Mm.
Okay, so it says that it's distilled in Tennessee and Indiana.
Okay.
And so the Tennessee was 12 years old and represented 96%. The Indiana was 15 years old.
Okay.
There are some other distilleries in Indiana besides MGP, but none that have been making whiskey for 15 years that they could sell.
Okay.
So we know for sure that Indiana is MGP.
Okay.
There are some distilleries in Tennessee that make whiskey that sell, but none that have been making it for 12. So we know for sure that this whiskey came from Dickel.
Okay.
And I would say that blue note that you're tasting is coming across to me as a lighter version of the Dickel Flintstone vitamin note that I get.
Okay.
It's not any one particular fruit note. It's like a fruity note mixed with like a B vitamin flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's blueberry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
sacrilege.
It's gonna be okay. So sometimes the cones come out of the lids. But yeah, so I like this more than I thought I would when I read the label and realized that it was Dickel.
Yeah.
But I would have to say that overall, I like this more than most Dickel products.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Woodinville's whiskey that they make themselves even more than this Founders Find.
Okay.
And so that's a testament to the effort that they've put in to create the brand that so many of us have come to know and love. So would you rate this a Yepper or a Noper on the Lindsay Yepper Noper scale?
Okay, this is going to surprise you because I generally don't like the flavors in Dickel.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it.
Okay.
129 is a little high for my Yepper scale.
You're skipping ahead to buy or pass. So, based on flavor.
Okay, based on flavor.
Is this a Yepper or Noper?
It's a Yepper for me.
Okay.
I like
on a 100-point scale, I think this whiskey is pretty interesting and complex. I'm going to give it an 85 on a 100-point scale. Not crushing it, not terrible. Now the question is, for you, is it a buy or pass at $129.99?
I mean, I think I might still buy it.
Okay.
Because Nopers for me have to be like really bad flavor or like super expensive. But this, I mean, it's a solid brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we have a lot of like Woodinville fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't tell them not to like. I like it, so get it.
Yeah, I am probably gonna rate this one a pass at 130. It's not that the liquid's not good, but if you want to get something from Woodinville, just buy one of their regular bottles. Find a release that's at a proof that is something that you really enjoy. But for $130, I'm rating this one a pass. If I bought this and had not, gotten this as a free media bottle, I would not be mad that I bought it. It's not one of those scenarios where I'm like, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. But I certainly wouldn't buy a second bottle at 130. If that makes sense. Okay.
Fair.
So it's not 100% pass. It's just like, there's a scenario where maybe you're a Woodinville super fan and you want to have this bottle on your bar.
I think they should.
Then you should. Maybe you have a lot of resources. You want something interesting. You like the backstory of how this distillery went at it backwards from a lot of craft producers. There are a lot of reasons why you might buy this. But for me, I'm probably going to rate it a pass at that price. Huh. So now let's talk a little bit more about this book, because
I think it's so pretty.
This Woodinville book that they sent us, not only is it a beautiful coffee table book.
Show the cover. I feel like it should be called a whiskey room book.
Yeah.
But
it does a great job of telling their particular story. But as they are telling their story, they're literally walking you through the process of how whiskey is made, talking about water sources.
I mean, like, seriously.
Talking about grain sources, talking about, how you mill your grain, things like that. And so I think that this book is actually really awesome. And one of the cool things about this book, it's only $49.99.
Yes.
And they actually have it on their website. But they have it on their website in some bundles where you get the book with whiskey.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was very interesting. So if I were going to rate this book, it is a 100 on a 100-point scale, and it is a solid buy at $49.99.
For sure. The back of the book, by the way, has like a section for like tasting notes.
Tasting notes, like flavor wheels.
It's got a flavor wheel. It's got color, tannin, acidity, body, the date, the whiskey name, which I think is really clever. So like, if you're someone like me who's married to someone that has all of the whiskey things,
this is a great gift for a whiskey lover.
It's a great gift.
And it would go great with most home decor because it's such a beautiful book. So
pretty.
Let's give away some whiskey.
Let's do it.
So what I thought we'd do is obviously we got to let people try this 12-year Finder's Find.
Okay.
So we're going to have 5 1-ounce sample pack winners.
Okay.
You're going to get the 12-year Finder's Find. The 8-year, which was limited edition release that they did of their own whiskey. Mm-hmm. Which that was pretty phenomenal and did well. And then I have the Sauterne cask finish that they sent us.
Oh, okay.
And I figured we could send some of that out. So that's some of their own whiskey finished in Sauterne cask, which is a sweet wine that is created by a fungal infection pulling all of the water out of the grapes before they squeeze it. And then they ferment it into wine. It's something that comes from a region in France. And then I have 2 single barrels that I've picked from Woodinville. One is a bourbon and one is a rye. So you're going to get single barrel bourbon, single barrel rye, Sauterne cask finish, their 8-year and the 12-year. So you're going to get 5 samples. And all you have to do to enter to win is like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, which will notify you of future videos and future giveaways, because we do a giveaway on every episode. So you need to tune in every time we post, please. We want return viewers. That's why we give this whiskey away. And then most importantly, on YouTube, you have to go to the video description just below the player head. Click more to expand the video description. You're going to see some links in there, and one of the links says free giveaway. Fill that out. We will run a randomizer, and we will post the results publicly for accountability. Reach out to the winners, get your address, and ship your samples absolutely for free. And if you want to support this channel, there's 3 ways. We have Patreon. We sell merch at bourbonrealtalk.com. And we are also run a real estate business together. She's the transaction coordinator. I'm the realtor. We operate in the Dallas and Houston metro areas, and we give away epic allocated bottles as closing gifts. And if you want information about any of the 3 ways you can support this channel, those are also in the video description below. Yep. So, and if this is your first time tuning in, we'd love to tell you a little bit about why we do what we do. And that is, we are trying to use the hobby of collecting and drinking whiskey as a conduit to create community and connection in individuals' lives. And community is something that's important to us because we lost my younger brother to suicide in 2014. And we had noticed that there were some problems in the connections that he had, and he had lost a lot of those ties that bind us to this world. And as I got more involved in whiskey, I saw how whiskey was creating those kinds of connections in people's lives. And I thought, maybe if I got you connected to whiskey, whiskey would do the rest of the job and get you connected to others. So we started this channel. We ended up creating Bourbon Real Talk community so that there would be a forum that people could interact with each other. And there's a lot of real positive things events going on in there. We parlayed that into starting Live Stay Project. Lindsay has Live Stay tattooed on her wrist because we started a suicide prevention and intervention 501c3 that's all administered inside the whiskey world. And so, we're doing all that to create community. We knew we needed to get more involved in the online world because there is some negativity out there from individuals that seem to want to use the hobby to maybe put other people down and elevate themselves. And so those individuals taught us that we needed to start our own community, but they also taught us that if they can be hateful to a stranger online, there's nothing that keeps us from loving a stranger online. And that's why we end every episode the same way, and that's this. If you woke up this morning and you're unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that we love you. We'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk. Cheers.
And I don't have recording game. I have recording nerves. And even though we've been drinking most of the day, I don't feel funny.
It's $129.99.
That's a lot. Mags!
No!
Mutter!
That's going to be good. That's going to be good, big moose moose.
We should go get creme brulee.
Okay.